Hello, everyone, and welcome to the BKOT podcast episode number 2. I am Mike Goossen, and today we're here with Shawn Parikh. Also, I want to talk about a little bit of our last session. We talked about why should you consider offshore staffing, a little bit of the history of offshore staffing and how it came about. Why did Entigrity get involved with this industry and bring it to the market? And how offshore staffing has fits for firms of all sizes and shapes. Now today what we want to talk about in episode number 2 is the benefits, the direct benefits of offshore staffing. Also a little bit about how you find, select, and pick the staff that you're going to use. And then lastly, a little bit about the impact. What are the big, the major impacts and opportunities and results of being taking advantage of offshore staffing? So Shawn, we'd like to start off a little bit about what are some of the benefits that you'd like to share with us about the process and participation in offshore staffing.
So, Mike, you already know this. Well, offshore staffing has, it's been in business for quite some time, and some of the perceived advantages are obvious cost savings around offshore staffing because of the big currency arbitrage you have. About 70 Indian rupees is equal to $1. That's the kind of difference you have, which obviously, has a big arbitrage in terms of hiring people also. So that's about, cost savings that you have. Anywhere from an average of 50% to 70%, you can save on labor cost when it comes to hiring an offshore staff compared to a local staff.
Yeah, that's very significant. Shawn, question. I mean, some people say, well, how can you hire someone so cheaply, or how is that? So how does that relate a little bit to the lifestyle, the people that work for you? I mean, because in America, they're thinking, wow, that's awful cheap. How does that work? What's the balance that? Is it good for the people in India that are working for you, or what's for us?
Well, our colleague Chris came in last year to,
Sure.
India. And the first thing that he did was shop, and shop. He went to all kind of malls and all kind of places and did all the shopping. Everything was so cheap. Essentially, the cost of living is very, very different. I mean, you get coffee at probably in terms of US dollars at 10 cents there, which is typically, $2 to $3 here in a normal store like Dunkin' Donuts or any other place. So that's the kind of cost of living difference, people think that it's a cheap labor. Is it human to give them $8 or $9 or $10 an hour? But the cost of living is like that,
Right.
Even a normal accountant. Yeah, go ahead.
So it's closer, I understand, to almost like equivalent to $25 an hour here in the States. Would that be a fair assumption?
Closer to what?
Closer to, say, $25 or $30 an hour in comparison to the United States?
In terms of living, yes.
Yeah, cost of living.
Yes.
So it's a good job. What I'm saying is it's a good job for the individuals that are working in Entigrity.
Yes, so definitely these are white collar jobs. These are executive jobs that they are doing, and they are under a very good. They are under a very good and better standard of living.
That's good.
So it's not like that they're making $8 or $9 an hour and they are not having such a great lifestyle. Yes.
Right.
So coming back to the cost advantages that we were talking about, of course, there's a huge cost benefit. But apart from that, there are many other benefits, there are significant reduction in payroll taxes because now you're not responsible for any kind of payroll taxes or any kind of Social Security, Medicare, IRA, any kind of paid leaves. So that kind of helps add a little above, in the savings. Apart from that, what is more important here is you don't need any more infrastructure. You're an accountant, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. You're an accountant, Mike. So I know, you come across a lot of your colleagues saying that I'm running out of space.
Exactly.
So what do you do there?
One of the most expensive parts of an organization is the office space, and I go into firms all over the country, and the firms are full, and
Yeah.
there's no place for them to go, and they're like, how am I going to hire any more people? I have more growth, I can't. So maybe they might stop growing to some extent because of their just physical space.
Well, this is really ridiculous. I mean, America is so big, and people are complaining about space.
Yeah.
I mean, just to give you this number, and this is really interesting, Mike, because I have lived in both. I mean, I have lived in both the parts of the world, and people often ask me question, how compared to America, India is different, or what is the difference? And I kind of keep it very simple. America is three times in size than India.
Right.
And India is 5 times in population than America. That kind of justifies everything. Still,
right, yeah.
America has a lot of space constraint, real estate constraint, challenges when it comes to, staffing, that you run out of space, you're growing, but you can't hire additional staff.
Right.
That's where offshore staffing can be very, very, very beneficial. Even though you increase your capacity, you'll not have to really, really worry about, increasing your space or, for overhead. One of the key benefits is around compliances and law. Off late with the Me Too campaigns and some of the laws around labor and employment, hiring the people is going to be more and more difficult in America. You're exposed to all kind of lawsuits, all kind of litigations. So this is making things difficult for businesses, even in genuine situations. There are a lot of paper formalities. So, offshore staffing to an extent saves you or protects you from all those challenges that are around, hiring the people. So this kind of are added advantage, but very significant advantages around offshore staffing.
Right, and then I think some of the other reductions is the whole idea of the we'll talk a bit more about it, is the whole retention and recruitment of staff is simpler through the offshore approach, because when you're looking for a new position, I need a new staff accountant, so I have to go out and market through the various internet courses. I get hundreds, if not thousands, of resumes. I have to go through all those things. I have to look at all those things, and remote staffing opportunities for that type of employment is so much easier because it just takes less time to find somebody.
Well, Mike, we work with 500 plus accounting firms today, and we have done several of client surveys in order to kind of understand what kind of results we are producing to them through offshore staffing. And I mean, you hit the nail there. When it comes to local staffing on all the three fronts, whether it's recruitment, retention, and replacement, offshore staffing has a big edge. Let us touch upon all of them, one by one.
Sure.
So let us take recruitment. We have been talking to our clients, and what feedback that we have received. On an average, there is 50 to 80 hours of savings, in recruiting per person when it comes to offshore staffing or local staffing. So over and above the recruitment fees that you pay to agencies and staffing companies. And you want to know how? I'm sorry, I'm having a bad throat today, but
it's okay.
When you so when it comes to local staffing, you have to go through hundreds of resumes. So no, the step one is, first of all, identify the job description, the job requirement.
Sure.
Let us understand how. Where the step one is basically, you first of all identify the job description, go and post on different kinds of job boards, maybe Indeed or LinkedIn that you are using. Source hundreds of resumes or thousands of resumes for them. I mean, they are good portal, but most of the accounting firms don't have their HR department, or for that matter, don't even have a full-time HR. I mean, either the admin or office manager is doing this work. So that's the kind of situation in small and mid-sized accounting firms that we see. And even after sourcing those resumes, and identifying the agencies to work with them, you have to undergo tremendous amount of drilling with the whole dozens of interviews you spend, and
Right.
a lot of them are so irrelevant according to the requirement.
Right. And
I
so,
mean,
yeah,
I
the
have
process of,
talked.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, the
go
process
ahead,
of
Mike. Yeah.
recruiting, yeah, just that whole process of, like you've just described, is so true. And the amount of time it takes away from our clients, away from our billable time, away from all those issues, it's a significant cost to an organization beyond simply the time it takes to do that work. And so the thing that also plays into the point is, okay, so now I've hired someone, how am I going to retain these people? And that's a very difficult challenge. You want to be able to
But
create an
before we
environment where they
go,
retain.
Mike,
Yeah,
before we go into retention, we are
sure.
still forgetting you're paying a heavy duty charge on your recruitment.
Right. Yeah, that's a significant
I
cost to
mean,
organization.
well, they charge anywhere from 8% to 15% of the annual package. I mean, I was talking to my client in New York, and he told me
Okay.
that he's planning to hire a temporary staff for a tax season, and they went to a company called Robert Half, and they
Sure.
charge $65 per hour for a temp, with about 3 to 4 years of experience. And I said,
Wow.
that's damn crazy. So when it comes to recruitment, even for temporary situations, the amount of thick cost that you're paying on recruitment. And on the contrary, when it comes to offshore staffing, and your partner like Entigrity, see, we always tell our client that we do a very, very, I mean, first of all, we only work with the accounting industry. So we have a complete understanding of all sizes of firms, what the requirement are. Some of the firm needs a specialized person. Some of the firm needs a
Uh-huh.
jack of all trades kind of a person. So we
Right.
go deep into the understanding of the requirement, and at the end of the day, they interview probably 5 to 8 candidates, and that's
Right.
all.
And they're going to still have to be. So if you went with Robert Half's person at $60 an hour, $65 an hour versus an integrity person, it doesn't change the amount of orientation. The onboarding time is still the same, right? There's there's no advantage to one person over the other as far as saving me. They're going to be up and running the same amount of time, right? I mean, so an
Yes,
integrity
absolutely.
person's going to be they're going to come to you with the experience. They're going to come from integrity, knowing the software that you use, all those kind of criteria. So the startup time is going to be the same or maybe even less than you would going out to Robert Half, because there's always that orientation onboarding time. So
I mean, when it comes to requirement, Mike, what happens is this. See, when you are specialized in an industry, you understand the needs very fast and very precisely. I mean,
right, right,
today I know, for example, how many tax softwares are widely used in the industry, whether it is UltraTax or CCH, ProFX, or you talk about Lacert, or you talk about Drake, or you talk about Pro Series, So we understand the requirement of the softwares. We understand the requirement of workflow management software, not just accounting or tax software.
right.
So that is the level of precise understanding that we have, that we can capture, which general recruitment agency even doesn't know about.
Not as much,
So
right? Yeah, sure.
that's the
So
kind.
actually
Yeah,
it's going to be faster as far as getting them up to speed with an offshore integrity staff person, right? They'll be
absolutely, absolutely,
quicker to productivity. That's it. If I'm desperate, if I need a tax person for the tax season, I want someone up and running as quick as possible as a
absolutely,
firm, right?
absolutely.
And so now that we've hired somebody and we're going along the line and we want to keep them both local or remote, what are some of the differences and contrasts there? And so something that I'm quite aware with when it comes to integrity is that the one thing that's different, there's a difference in how people approach their jobs and work. So at Integrity, I understand the contracts. So when someone joins on Integrity as an accountant at whatever level, they sign an agreement on a contract. It's their expectations to work for at least 3 years, to demonstrate a commitment to integrity for at least 3 years through a contract, not just a verbal thing. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand Integrity's average tenure now is at 4 years, right? So you have your average employee has been there for 4 years or more.
Compared to compared to an industry average of about 1.5, 1.6 years. We
Right.
are above 4 years. So I
So
mean,
that's significant.
typically in America, we have seen that there are no minimum commitment as far as contracts. I mean, as far as employment is concerned. Whereas, at our offices in India, you already been there, right, Mike? So you know that there are there's 3 years of minimum commitment that a person who joins in the company.
And that's at all levels, right? That's at all levels.
That is at all levels, yes.
Right. Because obviously in CPA firms, normally you don't have a commitment of term until you're like in higher level management or partner level. So just a staff accountant coming in, you have them for a month, you have them for a year, you never know. Because there's no, it's just not, you just don't do it that way in the States. And so this is a huge advantage. What's
Mike,
that?
It's again a funny situation. I know you have been worked on several places, but it's a situation you should capture the expression of a boss or an owner or a partner when a long-time manager or somebody comes there and says, "I want to quit."
Here's my 2 weeks notice, right? Yeah.
Yeah, here's my 2 weeks notice. So, yeah. So longevity is a big.
And that's even different because your culture, your staff, your company processes, they have to give you a 3-month notice, right?
Yes.
Is that right?
There is a notice of at least 3 months, yes.
So there's a lot.
Apart from that,
transition time is much better. Say again?
So yes, so 3 months gives you enough transition time, and we'll cover that aspect when we come to our third segment, which is replacement. But what I would like to highlight is what we focus on is longevity of the staff, which is so very important, especially in accounting industry, where it takes 1 year to just understand the process and the requirement and how the operates and the nature of your clients. So it just takes a little time and then you're gone. So it doesn't work like that. You need to have that longevity in a firm or in your work. And that's what we try to focus on. And not that these people are forcefully staying in the company. Of course, there are some great policies, some great processes in place, some amount of great policies that we have implemented in the company, which kind of compels them to remain with Entigrity. And of course, Entigrity compared to companies in India is a sizable company, so that also has some kind of retention benefits rather than a smaller firm of 5, 7, 10, 15 people. We are a much larger organization, and which brings me to the third segment, Mike, which is replacement.
Yeah.
So we talked about recruitment, we talked about retention. The third and the most important thing is replacement. However, difficult it may be, somebody might leave even with Entigrity.
It happens.
It happens, and you have to replace somebody. And suddenly this nightmare comes of going through the whole recruitment cycle again. So finding resumes, interviewing so many people, and then again going through that whole big drill.
Right. Now we talked about already. Yeah, that's a painful process.
So one thing, after that, the new incoming employee might require so heavy duty training or hands-on understanding of what work needs to be done. And the risk is, what if that new gentleman is not good enough?
Right. Yeah. So not as much well known. So how is that being a part of a remote staffing? How is that different? What's the change?
So let me give you some numbers here.
Okay.
So replacement is a universal reality. It's not that I don't want to say that there are no replacement on our side. Out of every 10 firms, one firm has to undergo replacement, to be realistic. Our attrition is about 6 to 8%.
Okay.
So replacement replacement is a reality. It's not that replacement is not a reality. But the good thing is, as you mentioned earlier, there is a 3 months of notice period that somebody has to serve. So there is a proper hands-on transition that happens.
Right.
So if somebody's going away, and we guarantee replacement in 2 weeks. So there's
Okay.
a proper 3 months of transition which somebody gets. And the good thing is we don't charge for that 3 months to the client because we think that it is our responsibility as much as it is for the client to retain the person. So we don't take any charge for that 3 months during the transition.
Oh, you mean you don't charge the client for their hours? Is that what you're saying, or you're not charging additional costs for finding a new person? What cost is the person going to save during this time? Be more clear.
Well, we don't charge. So let's say there is a person already working for you and he needs to be replaced. So we will immediately put somebody else alongside him. Both of them are working, hand in hand, so that the person is passing the knowledge. I would not be typically charging for the second person for next 3 months, till the time this person remains in the firm. There is no additional cost to you. And there's a simple transition process.
There might be two people working together. It's a training, so that training handoff process, no additional cost for that. Just a regular, whatever the regular weekly rate is, that's what it stays.
Yeah, right? We don't charge anything.
I understand now. That's really great. So me as a user, or the person who's participating has hired a remote staff person. All the replacement responsibilities are on Entigrity to bring me additional people. I pick that new person. I say, oh yeah,
100%.
I like this guy. And then that person joins the existing employee that's worked with me for a year, and they transition together, and it's seamless to me. I just keep the process going. I keep sending the work.
Absolutely.
The work gets done. And then hopefully by the end of a month or two, a month or two, the new person's up to speed and away it goes. The other person leaves, and then as far as me as the buyer, I'm happy. The process work is getting done, and that's the goal.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've talked about these three things, and I think those are significant difference. There's a reduction in recruitment time. There's a better retention reality within your organization compared to the average firm here. And when there is a replacement necessary, it's relatively simple. You take the responsibility. It makes it easy. All I do is pick the new person. Everything. So that all sounds really good on top of the benefits we've already discussed. So what are some of the actual? Well, yeah, go ahead. Do you have more to want to add?
Yeah. No, I didn't want to. What I'm saying is people perceive offshore staffing as a cost-saving tool. So obviously, when it comes to our client, I want to put out a number here that there is, 30 to 60% increase in profitability when it comes to offshore staffing, or when they implemented offshore staffing, over a long period of time in their firm. So that is definitely a big advantage, but it's not just that. It is much more than that. Let me give you some numbers, Mike.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So, some of our clients, on an average, has 150 to 300 billable hours of workload reduction in owners or partners' time, and about 250 to 500 billable hours workload reduction at a staff level. And that's a significant productivity gain or significant capacity increase, which only helps you in acquiring more business and growing. So it is definitely a big advantage on increasing capacities. And when you increase the capacity, it definitely gives you a competitive edge, in order to grow. And sometimes people feel that offshore staffing is back-end stuff. It doesn't help you in growing. Well, offshore staffing, it is history across all our clients that they have been growing consistently at a compounded annual rate of about 20 to 30%. And this seems like a small number. Just to give you an example, if you consistently grow for 5 years for 25%, you'd be doing 3 times of what you're doing now, which is like, if you're doing 500,000 in revenue, you'd be doing 1.5 million. And that's a big jump in revenue. So all in all, it's not just about saving money. It's about increasing your capacities, significant workload reduction, and definitely building a great competitive edge.
Right, and that's great. When you see those are some significantly large numbers and have great impact on a firm in a big way, some of the underlying impacts, not just some of the numbers of profitability and growth and that sort of things. What about, you think about it, my reaction is, what about the people who were there at the beginning of this process, those that were getting the benefits of the workload reduction, benefits increase of capacity? So my current level of employers, my current level of employees, I mean my CPAs, my staff are going to have a better work-life balance because they're not going to be so stressed out. They're going to be able to focus more attention on the client relationships as opposed to just get the work done. So that's going to change.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
it's cost saving, it's capacity, it's relationships, it's quality of life. All these things are impacted as we grow our offshore staff team. And that's kind of gets
Yes,
back to the name,
absolutely.
kind of gets back to the name of our podcast here, build a kick-ass offshore team. We're,
Yeah,
a great
absolutely.
offshore team has such a huge impact on the operations of your firm and your ability to grow. And so I really see that. And that's one of the things that when I give presentations about this, or if I'm at exhibits or events and conferences and we talk afterwards, one of the biggest things that I hear about is mostly, I am so stressed out as a CPA because I have so much work to do. I need more help. Either I can't find it or I can't trust it. So is offshore
You
staffing?
should be reacting that you should be reacting like this, That's
Uh-huh.
so much of, that's so much CPA, like,
I know I
that's so
am.
much CPA of you.
I can't help myself. I'm a CPA. I
Yeah.
think this way. So yeah. So I just see it as a huge. It just seems like I don't want to say a no-brainer, but it's a real good. If someone wants to do this, they need to contact you guys and contact us, I should say, and take a step and start small and start working with it and see the benefits and start to feel them. And I think they're going to want to increase that to where they have a team as opposed to just one part-time person. So it's okay, right? It's okay to start
As we
small.
typically put, Mike, as we typically put this, there is no downside, but a significant upside.
Right.
That's
Minimal
that's what
risk.
we say all the time.
Minimal risk. Okay, well, that kind of brings us to the end of our topics for today. Was there anything else you wanted to add before we
Yeah,
wrap it up?
enjoy.
That's great. All right. Well,
No,
thank you, Shawn. Again, this is Shawn Parikh and Mike Goossen saying thank you for attending our BKOT web podcast, and we'll see you next time.